got some painting to finish before all the art party stuff starts this afternoon. And there's still people sleeping in my house. But, hello. I'm not going to play music today. I'm just going to kind of sit here and have a think and have a paint session in my dining room on the floor. And then at 2 o'clock, we're going to go live with the worst pop band ever, which will be very fun. And all of this is part of a big project called the worst photo booth ever. So there's lots of links where you can find that stuff. We're posting links as we do these live things to a couple of places. And there's some folks who may tune in later after the fact. So hello and welcome to anyone from Hornepayne, Ontario. Hello and welcome to anyone from Bonetto or the crazy worst photo booth community in Toronto and St. Catharines. You are all wonderful and joyous parts of this project. And what I'm trying to do is finish some paintings that were inspired by some music in a radio play by Tim Shaw and the worst pop band ever. And so there's a bunch of artists who've been working on that all week. And the thing is, I've been so busy getting everything organized that I haven't really just had any quiet artist time to come up with my own version of this. So that's what I'm going to take right now to do, because, it's important to take that time. And because this radio play, gave me some really fun things to think about. So I'm not working on these in order of the story. I'm just kind of working on what I started yesterday. But one of the points in the story, this person is thinking about a friend of theirs who's about a situation where there's like a mixture of feelings. You're really happy because, but you're also really sad because. And the song has a beautiful lyric in it about it being the day when the sun and moon shine bright, which is the solstice. So it's like a song about all the most beautiful things, but it's also, I don't know, it's sort of a happy, sad song. And we kind of got into a conversation about that on our artist pool. So I don't know. I don't know why this is what I felt like painting, but it was balloons and the sky. And I want to fill at least a bit more of the sky in. And I was thinking about how sometimes like things can be more than one thing at the same time. Like, I'll be honest, if I see a balloon floating up in the sky, on the one hand, it's really pretty. That's the good part. That's the happy part. It's pretty. You get to see this beautiful colored balloon floating in the sky. And at the same time, it's kind of sad because I remember what it was like to be a little kid and to have a balloon and to lose it. So when I see a balloon floating in the sky, it's happy because it's beautiful, but it's also kind of sad because somebody lost that balloon. And then there's also this sort of part of me that's a grown-up and knows that if someone lets a balloon loose in the sky, then ultimately that balloon's going to come down. And when it comes down, it could be a huge hazard to like a bird or a turtle. That's the really unromantic part. So there's like this beautiful piece, and there's this kind of sad piece, and then there's this kind of realistic, actually, that's probably not a good idea piece. And I guess when I see a balloon in the sky, which of those things I think of first just totally depends on what mood I was in when I saw the balloon, I guess. I don't know. So this is my attempt to at least fill in the sky. And I think part of it is, sorry, someone's just asked me to send them the link. So yeah, someday, like, there was a photo exhibit in Toronto when I was a kid that was called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And that was the point of that. Today, this week has been a really interesting week in the life of this project. I can see that there's people or a person or someone is like watching, but I don't know who you are. And I think the chat box at the side is working. So if you want to talk to me and make me feel less like I'm just sitting here staring at a camera, painting into the nothingness, I'm sure this will make really entertaining TV after the fact. Anyway, we're all feeling all kinds of everything these days, I think. I think we all feel a bunch of different feelings all at once these days. And on top of that, we're all feeling compelled to ask each other how we're feeling, which is really sweet. And it's really good, and it's important to check up on people. But I guess it's also okay to accept that we actually might not know exactly how we're feeling. We might have never felt this way. Hello. So at 2:00, I'm going to hang out with the worst pop band ever. It'll be on this YouTube channel. We will post links on all of the social medias, and I'll also edit the description of this video so that there's a link there once we have it set up. And we want to acknowledge Spark, supporting performing arts in rural and remote communities. They've been really awesome in terms of giving us access to online conferencing software accounts that we wouldn't otherwise. And a huge thank you to the Art Gallery of Hamilton, who's been really super instrumental in helping us figure out that piece of the puzzle. Yep. So this piece, we're trying to get pieces of art that were inspired by a song that was written by a really great Toronto-based musician and composer. His name is Drew Burston. And the song is called All That's Left. It's also called Love on the One website. So and it's one of the songs that was included in this lovely little story, which is about it's about a kid who gets to take over a family portrait studio. But the other little project that's going alongside it is that what I love is a lot of this project is centered out of the very center of Ontario. And there's a little town right near the very center of Ontario called Hornepayne. And a lot of the artists we're working with are up there. And in Hornepayne, the mill really did close down at one point. And so we've got a bunch of people who are sort of helping us look at that part of the story. And this week we also asked people if they were going for a walk. And this is something that you could do this week if you feel like it. We're asking people to take pictures of places that look like nobody wants them anymore. And we're just asking people to take those pictures and to share them with us by whatever means. you like sharing photos. That's by email or by Instagram. You finally got that thing up and running a bit better. And there's a Facebook page, uh, facebook.com/worst photo booth ever. Because that's part of the story, is that I think when Tim and the band presented the first version of this story, part of what it appealed to me about it was the fact that it was a story about what creative people do with spaces that nobody wants anymore. So I don't know if there's a space in your community that's just like begging for someone to just love it and give it a new life, and you feel like taking a social distancing walk and taking a picture. Don't do anything dangerous. Don't go anywhere unsafe or illegal. But if you felt like sending us those pictures, we would love to have them for this project that we're working on. And we'll have some big announcements. We've also been asking random questions, and I can throw them out there. And if you feel like typing your answers in the chat box, you can, or if you feel like emailing them to us, or just, polling your own Facebook friends because you're looking for something else to talk about. We asked people on our community page yesterday or this morning. Oh, the days are bleeding all together. Like, what is one, in honor of the worst photo booth and the worst pop band doing this live stream this afternoon? We were sort of wondering what your guilty pleasure songs are, like what the song that you're almost embarrassed to admit that you love, or maybe it's like really cheesy and you know it's really cheesy, but that's part of what makes it so awesome, or that song that you pretend to dislike if other people are around, but secretly you all know that you're all listening to it in private. We were asking about that this week. We were asking about songs that remind you of friends who are far away. And I think part of the reason I stumbled into Hornepayne in the first place was that I realized more and more of my friends were living far away from where I lived. And that I used to think my friends were mostly about the people who lived in my neighborhood, but that my neighborhood's changed a lot. And so now I have all these friends everywhere. And it's really jarring to realize that, but like that your block has disappeared. But there are still people in my old neighborhood when I go back, and it's wonderful. But when you have friends who live in like lots of different provinces, and when you realize that there are people you love in lots of places, it kind of changes your idea of what home means. And it also makes you realize that the country that we live in is really, really big. And even when we're not all in isolation, even when we're not all being asked to stay home, for a lot of us, living in Canada means living isolated from people that we really love and really care about. So, I don't know, yeah, happy, sad. I am lucky to have so many wonderful, wonderful, wonderful friends. who I love and who live in so many places. And I'm also sad that they're all really far away and I miss them. So I guess that's the good and the bad. And the ugly, I guess, is that even when we're not socially distancing, when you have friends who live a long distance away, even when everything's sort of normal, it's still really hard sometimes to see the people that you love or to get to where the people you love are. And I guess I'm lucky that I got to spend some really good time where the people I wanted to be with were. I'm so lucky that I got to spend so much of my year up in Hornepayne, actually meeting people. Because even though it's a bit weird sitting here on the internet and talking to nobody, the idea that I know who I could be talking to makes it easier. And the idea that even though I'm here working by myself, I'm working on something that ultimately I'm working on with people that I'm hoping I get to see again soon. It makes it feel a little bit less like I'm sitting here by myself. So I'm going to keep painting the sky and these balloons. It's 10:25 almost. And I'll come back on in about 15 minutes real time. Well, no, I'll come back a little later when I've got a little bit more done on this one and I'm ready to move to the next painting. And I'll see what working on that painting makes me think about. And in the meantime, get in touch if there's something you're thinking about. Okay, bye guys.